Hi, it's Jeff Price with Leading Edge Strategies, and this is still a few minutes of aviation safety and security. This is a new format. The old one really took too long to produce. It could take anywhere from 6 to 12 hours just to produce 6 minutes of video, getting graphics and getting the camera lined up and the lighting. And I have several books coming out in the future, and I have publishers who are tired of me making up imaginary numbers for deadlines. So I need to spend more time there. But I still wanted to produce these videos for you so we can bring you perspectives on the industry. And once in a while, maybe the mullet man will still make an appearance. So moving forward, this is really kind of more raw dog. I'm not going to stop the video if I screw up. I'm just going to keep on going. And that's the way I can bring you this information. So in this session, we're going to talk about imagining the unimaginable. And then we need to humor that imagination. So author and former Delta Force operator Pete Blaber, in his book, The Mission, the Men, and Me, talked about this as one of the 7 core operating principles. So numerous airlines and trade associations are reporting that the industry will come back. And once this pandemic, goes away, calms down, gets tamed by vaccine, I don't know. At some point, we'll reach whatever our new normal is. Some companies and some industries are projecting a need for up to 250,000 more pilots within the next 10 years. Also, airline fleets expected to grow. And really, the industry will bounce back better than it was before. I really hope that's true, and I agree. I think we will bounce back. There will always be a need for pilots. And there's always going to be need for others to support flight operations. In fact, if you want a little bit of good news, just kind of running some real loose numbers, keep in mind I suck at math, is based on furloughs and a number of pilots being furloughed versus support staff. For every pilot hired at an airline, that's anywhere from 3 to 5 support staff that on average need to be hired to support just those that one position. So here's something to consider, though. None of the articles I read, and there were several, took into account the Zoom effect. This is a new transportation industry. It's really a poor man's teleportation device. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Video, or whatever they're calling theirs. So you can tell this is raw dog. I'm not even going back to check. But the video conferencing is going to be an impact on our industry, whether we like it or not. And now I just heard the sounds of hundreds of my readers, or 4 of my readers, depending on how many, literally cringing at that last statement. But the news is still good. Just stick with me for a minute. But we need a realistic outlook. We need a realistic outlook on our industry before we can start factoring in these projections. Keep in mind what I just said, none of the projections I read online factored in whether Zoom was going to have an impact or not, or video conferencing. I'll just keep saying Zoom probably. So I really believe that we need to talk reality. During World War II, we didn't just ignore the fact the other side had airplanes or guns or boats. We acknowledged those realities and then came up with strategies to deal with them. And that's what we're going to need to do here too. Another principle from former Delta Force operator Pete Blaber is it's not reality unless it's shared. I'd rather have you understand the dynamics of the industry and maybe get a little bit of sting, thinking that could be some bad news, rather than just toss out numbers and say, yeah, this is what it looks like, based on a bunch of projections that don't include other influences, like really a new transportation system. Obviously, we're not going anywhere physically. Scotty's not beaming us yet, but virtually we can appear right in someone's room and everybody is really comfortable with us. Maybe not everybody, but we deal with it. So let's get real, or let's not BS ourselves here. Now, before you dismiss switching to Zoom, understand I'm not talking about the entire industry or the entire traveling world is going to switch to Zoom. Of course, there's always going to be a need for aviation. We have an entire world infrastructure based on it that is slowly dying on the vine right now. And we have yet to see the economic tsunami that is coming as a result of this. But that's a topic for another time. Millions of people work for the airlines, the restaurant industries, the hotel industries that support the airlines. They are all seeing the necessity of aviation to the world's economy. Now, the leisure passengers, yeah, they're coming back. I have an Oculus too, and it's awesome, but it's still, I still can't go there and swim with the stingrays or whatever that stupid activity was we did a few years ago. Who does that? It's like, here, let's go swim with, snakes or something like that. Yeah, they could sting you. It'll hurt. Who knows? Might as well go out there and play with the bees in the bee nest. Anyway, I digress. Look, leisure passengers are coming back. I think part of the challenge of them coming back sooner, even though the airlines are, it's very, very low chance you'll catch anything on the airplane with all of the safety measures and health measures they've taken. It's not really the airline flight that I think people are worried about. They're worried about exposure to everybody else along the way, within where they're going, the meetings they're going to attend, or the ship they're going to get on for a cruise or something. They're more concerned with what's going to happen, where they're going, and less concerned with the conveyance right now. What we're talking about here is the business traveler. They make up a significant amount of the airline market, anywhere 40–50% plus business travelers. And that's what the airlines can count on. We're talking about that sector, primarily that business traveler, that post-pandemic will occasionally make a Zoom call instead of taking a flight. A recent Bloomberg article said that in a survey of 10,000 frequent flyers, 31% said they will travel less often once air service returns to normal. And that less often is for a variety of reasons. One is they don't have to. Relationships are built in person, but they can be maintained online. And there'll still be the need for occasional contact, but there's still going to be some impact here, because some people will look at the bottom line and go, that's going to cost a lot to fly out there 5 times a year. Can you do 4 times a year, or maybe 3, and then do video conference the other 1 or 2 times? That's airfare right out of the airline's pockets, or even the charter industry as well. So consider some 700 million or so passengers travel out of US airports, pre-pandemic numbers. Let's be conservative and say about 40 million are business passengers. Let's drop those numbers down even lower. Let's say 10 million business travelers take 1 less flight per year. Give an average flight cost about $500, which is really good for domestic, or pre-pandemic it was. They'll decide that instead of the 5 flights per year they're just going to take 4, and they'll do video conferencing for that extra 5th one. That's a potential $5 billion not going into the airline industry pocket. And the charter industry could be hit as well for some of those managers that routinely fly to their various like retail stores or sales outlets and so forth. That industry is getting very used to doing what they used to do in person over video. So private aviation, charter aviation, airline aviation, we're all going to be affected. We just need to understand the reality of that so we can adjust and we can still grow. So look, truly no one can say with certainty how many pilots that we needed, or planes. That 250,000 number figure, that might actually be lower than what we end up getting. In fact, long-term, I think it will be, because the industry is going to change. It changed after 9/11. It's going to change after this. As things start to level off, many of us have found that we are not, maybe we don't love this concept of always talking on video, but we've all gotten used to it. If a pet jumps up on somebody's lap anymore during the middle of a news bit, nobody even cares. Like, oh yeah, that's cute. We just move on. Whereas before that would have been, oh my gosh, that's so unprofessional. So some industries are finding even a increase in productivity, in this work from home concept for those of you that can work from home, because you just don't have the disruptions. The lovely, somebody comes to your door, hey, quick question. All right, shut up. There's no such thing as a quick question. Quit saying it. Say something like, do you have a minute? Now we know that's not going to take a minute, or do you have some time for me? Sorry about the tangent, but I love that. Hey, quick question. It's not quick. Let's just admit it and move on. Where was I? Okay. See, there's still humor here. I can still lose my mind. So increase in productivity. And like any business, we're trying to reduce expense and increase revenue. If I can cut a few flights out each year from my overall business, maybe that increases some revenue. Now, if I find that hurts client relationships or something like that, or it hurts productivity, okay, then I'm going to add those flights back in, and maybe that's what happens. So here's all that good news I promised. Look, during this time, the pandemic time, the pandemic era, the great pandemic of 2020, the year that will not end, just, I don't know. Airlines and charter operators, they've made tremendous changes. Most of them really, really good, you know, getting rid of bag fees, realizing the passenger is an important part of their business plan, rather than kind of treating us as cargo, treating us really as a valued client and customer now, not just the folks in first class. I think the changes that the airlines and the airports have made may drive air travel even higher than it was pre-pandemic. It's going to take a while to get there. Now, there's going to be a surge in air travel once this pandemic reaches a level that everybody's comfortable with to get back on the road. But then it's going to level off. Eventually, it'll start to build back up again as we find new needs and new uses for aviation. Just like after 9/11, the world we will return to is not the world we left. That world is no more. It's behind. And I think, however, the new world will be better. I think it'll be healthier. I think our industry will grow. I think we'll learn to adjust to video conferencing, using it where we need to and not using it where we don't. Like part of my industry in terms of training, yeah, we do all sorts of great training over Zoom right now, but I still know there's clients that want that live training and that interaction as well. So we'll actually be able to accommodate more audiences once we're kind of through all of this part. And our industry is going to do that too. As an aviation as a whole will adjust. We could see new operations in the charter industry for lower cost charter, or more companies using charter. We could see more airline operations as people are more comfortable with flying and can enjoy the experience for the first time in 20, 30 some odd years, especially since 9/11, where everything really changed. We're not going to return to the world we left. I think it's going to be better long term. The airlines and the charter industries made numerous changes, as I mentioned. The passenger experience is going to be better. I mean, it's already great on charters, of course, because you're paying premium for that. But the airline experience, I think, is going to be better too. We're in unprecedented times, so this is my qualifier. We can't really predict what's going to happen. We've never seen anything like this before since the beginning of the aviation industry. So projections that anybody makes, including myself, they may or may not be true tomorrow. They may or may not be true next year. I hope our industry grows phenomenally, and I think it will. Those of us been in the industry for a while, we've seen all of these bad times come and go, and they eventually will go. Good times always follow. And I think, though, we can't ignore that there are certain changes that have changed our world, and video conferencing is certainly one of them. Not something that's going to replace air travel, but something that we have to account for, maybe with new types of aviation business models. Look, I still see a positive road ahead for our industry. It requires resilience. This is not an industry for the faint of heart. It requires innovation, and it's going to require possibly new models of air travel. Future's bright for aviation. We always come back. Let's just keep it real, realize that there's factors out there that are going to change our business models, and improvise, overcome, and adapt. All right, there you go. That's the new model. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.